Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Maybe, kind of. All right. If you can't, you can have those earphones or those headphones, I think. And right now, do you hear the song? Yeah. Cool. So, by the way, that song, written completely by AI, obviously. I told it to write a song about the history of L&D with the coming of generative AI. This is what it wrote in about 30 seconds.
Now screams the light with AI spark, algorithms that teach and pass in bytes and bits. The future's told, custom tailored lessons bold, transforming how we learn and spark. And we evolve with every slide and click.
All right.
Screens replace the open books.
Good. All right. So maybe AI has a little work to do, but still pretty impressive, right? So hey, everyone, my name is Josh Penzell. I'm going to talk about the AI-Augmented Learning and Development Professional. Make sure that's off. All right. So I want to start. First of all, how many people are already playing with AI? Awesome. Is anyone like expert? Like I am a master? No? Okay, that's. And is anyone here like, I am scared? I haven't dipped my toe in, maybe. We got like, I don't know. And then how many of our organizations are like, heck no, security, legal, you're not getting AI in here. And they're completely saying, ignoring the fact that it's here, it's coming, it's not stopping, right? All right. So first of all, I believe generative AI specifically is a boon to learning and development. It's the best thing that ever could have happened to us. I'll show you a quote from a guy named Ethan Mollick. Anyone following Ethan Mollick? Professor at Wharton. The big education crisis caused by AI is not going to be in schools. There was cheating before AI. We can figure out AI uses that boost learning, but after graduation, that's the problem. White collar work is secretly based on an apprenticeship system that will break. L&D is or are going to be where the battle for the future talent in organizations will be fought. By the way, at the end of this session, I will have a QR code up. You can get my entire deck, all of the links, and all of the research that's in here, okay? So, what he's trying to point out is apprenticeships and the idea that someone who is new to the organization is going to people who have been in the organization for a long time, that model is quickly going away. And it is causing all sorts of stress. They've actually done studies on this, right? For instance, surgeons who use tools to, remote surgery, all these electronic simulations and stuff, and students, learners, residents, they didn't have time to sit with the surgeon. So they went onto YouTube. They learned it themselves, right? So what does that mean to the head lawyer or the head partner or the head surgeon who now doesn't have that value right at the top? And here's what I think the future organization is going to look like. Every single individual contributor in your organization is now a leader. Who are they leading? AI agents. We're going to be able to create, and we're already creating, AIs that operate like interns. It's actually what we're going to talk about today. It's how do you, right, turn yourselves into cyborgs by being the human in the loop and taking advantage of AI to push everything. But imagine that I'm the CEO and I have AI agents that are looking at everything my team's doing, right? If I'm an individual contributor, I can go to my manager's agent and talk to it. It's fed on all my data. It's fed on all my information. This is what the future is going to be. And here's the problem, is some people are going to be left behind, right? Some people aren't going to be able to adapt to this. This is in America, Pew Research. This was in February. Super interesting here, right? Ages 18 to 29, look at this jump up on how much they're using tasks at work right now. It's 30%. That's a third of workers in the United States, right, are using it. And look at that exponential climb versus nice, stagnant line. So who is going to be, obviously we know this, but who is taking the most advantage of Gen AI are the new people who are in the organizations. We know this, but I want to imagine now that your experts, right, your senior people who usually our junior people are going to, they're going here instead. All right? So that changes the entire learning and development dynamic, right? Because now we don't control the entire learning experience. In fact, I bet most people, they're going to questions. Ethan Malik, who's a professor, said, I get a lot less questions. And he asked the students, why is no one asking questions? And they said, why ask you? We can ask GPT. All right? So I share all this for a few reasons. So why L&D? Why is this a boon for L&D? Okay? What is generative AI trained on? Data created by humans. Who does it mimic? Humans. Who better than human behavior specialists like us to be at the forefront of using a tool that is based on humans? We are the new IT department. Remember the IT department? I worked in IT 20-something years ago, right? Get the calls and people will be like, I don't know how to use my mouse. How do I close? How do I do this? Like there was a whole struggle. How do I use this? How do I adapt? But the thing is right now, everyone has most people in here, right, have a phone, you have internet. The people you're working with generally have internet. They know how to program AI. Why? Because it's in their language of choice, right? Your language is the new programming language. So, if we are better at this, does that mean we're in for a job and we don't have to do anything? Which would make this entire presentation worthless? No. Can AI replace L&D? So someone did a study looking at all the overlaps, and by the way, again, link to the studies, all my studies are here. I will send them out to you afterwards if you're interested. So they looked at what are all the jobs, where are the overlaps between what Gen AI can do and what the skills of these people can do. I just want to point out, number one, telemarketers. No shocker. Number two, teachers. In fact, most of the people at the top of the list are instructors. Which doesn't mean instructors go out of business, it means they need to change the way they teach. 26, HR specialists. Number 57, IO psychologists. 89, training and development specialists, followed by technical writers. Not long after, chief executives. By the way, this is like 15 pages long. The presentation has all of them, so you can go see. I think the last one, the one that was like least likely to get replaced, was something like textiles. So if you're in textiles, you're good to go. All right, but hey, AI's not going to replace me. I'm an L&D. I'm a human. I'm super creative, right? All right, a study. So does anyone know the alternative use test? So I say, hey, here's a microphone. How many uses can you make for this microphone? Or here's a shoe. How many things can you do with the shoe? Okay? They used pants, ball, tire, fork, toothbrush. What they found, so first of all, this, let's see where it is, this yellow line right here, those are the average human. Okay? GPT-3, it's right about here, so it's performing at human, meaning it was creating a ton of novel responses. Are they good? No. But what is creativity? Perhaps it's simply a bunch of new ideas I've never thought about. We'll get back to that. Here's where GPT-4, our current model, sits, right? But what's interesting is the max humans, so the humans were already super creative, it couldn't outperform them. So now imagine I can mix, and this is what we're going to be doing, right? I want to mix the maximum human potential with the maximum AI potential, and now I'm a cyborg, an AI learning cyborg. All right, so this is all fun and good, but I think we want to get to some practical stuff. So here's how I think about how we are augmented in L&D. These are the 5 areas. They sort of correlate to ADDIE, I think, but I like to go a little different. So I think, and these are the 5 examples I'm going to show, we can use Gen AI in these 5 areas. One is ideation, brainstorming, creativity, iteration, so pressure testing stuff, simulating, for instance, people going through your training environment or your training program before you've even rolled out your training program. So having your CEO, CMO, 10 stakeholders in the business give you feedback on the training before they've even seen it. Personalized learning. We all know this one, right? Now that it can sort of give us dynamic learning at the moment. I always say branching scenarios are dead. Dynamic scenarios, how much time did we spend like branching off our scenarios? And now it's going to be unlimited scenarios. Administration, so the AI can actually just do everything for you. Can teach, can quiz, right? You can throw away everything else. And then optimizing, right? It can look at your data, for instance, your LMS data, and tell you, where am I going to get better, right? What can I improve on? I want to show you some examples. So every example I'm going to show, if I can at the end, I'll go back and like show you in live. Most of these are built in ChatGPT right now. So these are all proof of concepts that I welcome you to take. I will give you the link to all of them so you can play with them as you wish, right? My job at ELB Learning is to help people fish. It's to help them become comfortable with AI. So I'm here not selling you anything, but ideas that you can take home and use immediately after this, okay? So let's look at each of these. All right, first one is this ideate. Really interesting example. How much, does anyone have a problem with SMEs or SME interviews? Does that ever take time? I'm seeing some nods. Like you're like, we got 2 weeks, we're gonna put this out. They're like, awesome. You're like, cool, let me get some time on your schedule. And they go, oh, that's gonna be 3 weeks out. And you're like, well, now my entire thing is ruined. So we noticed the same problem at ELB Learning. Everything got moved. We couldn't get the SMEs on the phone. They hated it. So we created a collaborator. It essentially will just have a learning discussion with them. We actually put in the project ID. We put in all the information we already know. And it will have a conversation with them and grab the information, whatever they say, and it has it in real time. Again, I will showcase this at the end. We have time. I know we have 30 minutes. But you can play with this afterwards as well. So intake, big issue. Now I can have it intake it for me. Pretty interesting. Also, I can upload content. So it'll say, hey, can you upload any content you have? Can you upload a Zoom recording? Whatever it is, okay? Am I coming through okay? Too loud, too soft? Good, okay. I was a theater major, right? So sometimes people blame me for yelling too much. Another one are learner personas. I actually have created a learner persona generator. You say I'm creating a new hire program for name your industry, and it starts creating personas for you, one after the other. Creates the persona, provides an image of the persona. This is actually an old one. This is from Midjourney a while ago. And it keeps doing that, prints them all to PDF, and then I have all my personas, and I can throw them around to all of my folks. So within minutes, rather than hours, I've created all the learner personas I want. Now, does that mean that I don't need to touch it? No, the AI, it's gonna make stuff up. It's like a really brilliant intern with no context, right? It's your employee. So I have now my intern that all it does is learner personas. It's gonna give me something, and every time it gives me something, it says, any feedback? And I'll say yes, no, indifferent, whatever. All right, so now I can take that, but you know what? What do I do with these learner personas? I can stop, I can go great, I can go to my team. But again, we want to try to use AI as much as possible to augment our work. Wouldn't it be great if I could put these learner personas through the training program that I just created? So I built that. Oh, there we go. So I have actually an optimized adaptive course creator. It'll do all of this. Creates a course, puts each persona through the course, including other stakeholders like the CEO, CMO, CLO, technical experts, and it gives all the feedback on that training program and says, hey, here are some things you might want to integrate, and actually it will then integrate that content for you. So again, in minutes, I've created something, I've created personas, and I've had each one of those learners go through my training. It's not perfect, but imagine how much time and how many iteration cycles with my SMEs, with my learners, with my stakeholders I've now saved. And now I can focus on the good stuff, which is creating a really amazing training program that's going to produce ROI, right? Really quickly on that, I think a big worry a lot of us in this field have, and I have too, is, hey, my boss is going to say, great, you can do all this so much faster. Let me trim your budget, right? Here's what I think. Training is a fixed and a variable cost, yeah? You have an upfront investment, which is what you're spending, the time, the money, to create the training. Once you create it, people go through it, and that's a variable cost. How many people are going through it? The more people that go through it, the more money I am spending on putting them through the training, and the more money I'm spending not having them work. So here's the question I have for my leaders. Do you want to get the same results, right? You want to get the same results, your fixed cost will go down, but your variable cost isn't changing. If you can spend the same amount and get exponentially more value out of the training, going on my tippy toes there to show how exponential, you're saving money. Because everyone who goes through the program, maybe I can have a more optimized program, takes less time, works better. And how can it work better? Well, I can create personalized training, right? So for instance, here is an example. I'm sure some of you have played with this. We actually created this in Storyline, right? So in this case, it says, hey, Josh, I'm taking a personal day. My dog died yesterday, okay? It has this person's file, so I can see what their file is. I can see what my company's policies are. And then I can put in an answer. I put in a pretty terrible one. It takes all of that. It sends it out to AI. It comes back, and it gives me feedback on my response. So now, the trick is, we can spend less time creating this branching scenario or these multiple choice questions, and now we can spend more time on collecting the data, analyzing the data, right? Now I can see, oh, here's what they typed, here's the amount of feedback I'm getting, and now I can start to shift where I'm spending my time. Now, how about administrating? Like, can I just get AI to do this stuff for me? Well, here's an adaptive tutor. The adaptive tutor says, what topic do you want to learn? I give it a topic. I can also upload information to it. And then it will literally start teaching it to me adaptively. So it asks me a question to understand where I'm at in my skill set. I said ROI, I don't know. Maybe that's why we do L&D. And it starts to respond, and it says something like, you know ROI, so you must know something. Let's dig into that to understand how advanced you are. By the end of this, I might know the information. And so here's, and I'll get back to this in a second, but how do we take this and totally shift how we do learning and development? If this is so easy, right, and let's say I can get the boundaries around it and the context to make sure it's perfect, what am I going to do now to make sure the person learned it and to really measure it and to put it into my existing systems? I have a thought on that. I'm going to ask you to hold on it. Finally, optimization. Does anyone have like large LMS data sets that can export into CSVs or Excel spreadsheets? So I did. I had all this data, and I was like wondering, can you tell me any patterns here? Can you tell me anything that I should be noticing? I'm not a data analyst. I got my Master of Fine Arts in Theater, right? I'm going to go see Ian McKellen at Falstaff on Thursday. So like, help me know, what do I do with this data? Well, it told me, hey, let's write a program. Let's write a program that will intake that data, parse it out, take all of the PPI out, because I didn't want to send any private information up, and then analyze it for you. And I said, I don't know how to write Python. I've never programmed. I got my major in theater. And it said, no problem. Here's how you install it. Open terminal. Install Homebrew by pasting this line. And in 2 hours, I had built a Python program where I could upload my content, right? And it came back and said, here's some interesting insights. This is just a basic first insight, so nothing surprising here. But just interesting that suddenly it started looking at stuff that I might not have noticed, certain patterns, right? All this is cool. I want to show you where the future is going. You can actually, pretty soon, you'll be able to have do all of it. So there's a new program called Devin. It's coming out. Has anyone heard of Devin? Has anyone heard of autonomous agents? You've heard of it. Autonomous agents mean all that stuff that I was just doing, it does it automatically. So Devin is a new program, and here's the example they did, but basically you can say, hey, I read this blog, I'm interested in integrating that, can you build it for me? And it will say, all right, here are all the steps I need to build this project, right? One by one, it goes through, It builds the stuff, and I'm just sitting there waiting, and it might say, hey, I need access to your data. Can you authenticate me? But it is essentially doing all the work for me. I just tell it my outcome. So all that other stuff that I was doing in the future, because we're going to be able to tell AI and it'll do it for us. So now I want you to think about, how am I going to use this? So I now can use it to create, I can use it to do all this cool stuff. But like, how do I think about this, right? So what are your next steps? What are you going to do? How are you going to think about this? All right. First, you need to set your boundaries now. If your organization does not have some sort of policy, if you don't have clearance to deal with it, you need to push your organization now to do it. And again, IT doesn't have the skill set here. You do. IT thinks they have the skill set, but this is a completely different thing. It works like a human. It is not programming. It uses your language to program. The second thing is, think of the AI as a human. So you're going to open up any of your AIs of choice. And when I say AI, I'm talking about generative AI, these large language models that have been all the rage, not the AI at Alexa I used to work at Amazon, right? I want you to think about coaching the AI like you would any student, any learner. So it gives you something, don't take it. Say, hey, this was good, but here's what you need to work on. And by the way, studies have shown that saying something like, I believe in you, you can do this, and I want you to think through this step by step, improve the performance of the AI. So if it didn't mimic humans, I would say, how does that work, right? But the fact is, by just encouraging it, and by the way, penalizing it too, right, it helps. Being polite actually is helpful, studies have shown, but not obsequiously polite. Like, you don't want to be like, you're the most amazing AI ever, I love you. But if you're like, hey, please, thank you, good job, it performs better. And it'll help when our AI overlords take over, right? The next thing is use AI every day. If you're not using AI right now, you're dipping your toe in, I need you to go full hog. I need you to just dive in. Use it anytime you can. Read all the stuff. How do you learn about AI? Go to the AI and ask it, how can you help me? But you need to start working with it. Part of that is because, like every human communicates differently, every AI model is communicating differently as well. So if you use it, you learn what it responds to. All right. Here's what I was talking about with rethinking our... Oh, I'm sorry. Last one, study the humanities. Really important one. AI is built on the collective knowledge of humans. That is humanities. How are we going to get more creative and work with this? It is by thinking about things collaboratively, which is the realm of humanities. The problem will not be, can AI do what I imagine? It will be, am I imagining big enough for AI? It's going to be a fault of imagination, not a fault of AI. All right, so here's maybe a paradigm shift I want you to think about. These are 7 roles, also Ethan Mollick. These are 7 roles of AI in learning. Some of these make sense. AI is tutor, right? We saw that. It's sort of teaching me. It's tutoring me. AI is mentor. In my role of work, I might ask it questions. The coach one is interesting. That's actually metacognition. So that's where, hey, the AI might say, did you chat? Are you sure that's what you want to do? What action steps you might want to take? Go through that grow model. Here's the really interesting one from all of these. AI is student. So I want you to imagine now, the job of your learner is not to pass a quiz. I'm just going to use that as one assessment, okay? The job of your learner is not to pass a quiz. It is to get an AI student to pass the quiz. So now, the learner is told, hey, here's an AI program student. It's programmed not to know anything. It's programmed to be basic, entry level. And your job is to get them to pass this quiz. We all know I learn a lot by teaching. Now I can do that. And by the way, we already have content. We already have quizzes. So if I upload all of that into the AI and I say, hey, you're a student. Here's the quiz. You need to take it. I want you to assume you know none of this information. If you pair that with an AI tutor, now, me as the learner, I can go to the AI tutor and I could say, hey, I need to learn about blah, 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 so I can teach it. I go to my AI student, I teach it, and then I say, AI student, take the test. It takes it, scores a 70%, and it says, here's where I didn't perform, and now I teach it some more. And you're learning through teaching. I'm using the same stuff, I'm switching the paradigm, right? Everyone has Teslas, they can drive themselves. If a car can drive itself, why does it need a steering wheel? Why does it need a windshield? First principles, rethink how we are doing stuff. All right, so here are some other possible AI applications that I think about when I think about these 5 categories. Again, I'm going to share all of these with you. So I'm going to skip through that. Real quick, just plug for us, right? We do, if you want more of this, or if this is interesting, or you want to talk more about it, reach out to me. We have workshops, which we call AIQ, really about raising the awareness of your company or your teams. If you really want to focus in on what's my AI roadmap, where do I go now, what's the strategy, where are the areas AI is going to help me the most, we have discovery. If you say, you know what, I know where it's going to help me, I need to build something, and I just want to pilot it, I want a tool that does A, B, and C, we will come in 2 to 4 weeks later, you'll have a POC, proof of concept, you can roll out to your team, figure out if it works, and you're good to go. Finally, design, create, deploy, our create tool. If you can think about it, we can create it for you. So because I have 4 minutes left, actually we'll have some Q&A, and if we don't, I can showcase some stuff. But stop by and say hi to me at F50. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, here's my QR code. This is a copy of the deck. There are links to every single chat bot that I showed you, so you can use them, and links to all of the content. And by the way, if you don't get it or you can't get here, come find me at F50 or come up afterwards. So we have 3 minutes. What questions do you have as the adrenaline pumps through my veins, as does the sweat pumping out of my skin, not through my veins? Yes, sir.
It's a specific one. I was wondering how you implemented this window that you can insert into Storyline.
Yeah, thanks. So the question, how did I do that articulate thing where I put those windows in? Text box. So does anyone uses articulate or Storyline? Okay. You create a text box. What's captured in the text box goes into a variable. Using JavaScript, we send the variable out through the Open API with essentially a prompt. The return data comes back. That's put into another variable, which is then presented to the learner. And if you want to, put some XAPI calls in there, build them in, and now you have a way to capture all that data, because SCORM currently doesn't have the ability to capture all of that. Yeah? Limited data sets. That would be another thing I would say is start using XAPI or start integrating LRSs, because SCORM does not have a rich enough data set to be able to capture all of the cool stuff AI is going to enable. And by the way, I want to point out, everything I've created is something you can create. The tool I used for ChatGPT, you can always put fancy UXs on it. This is all stuff you can do right now on your phones if you wanted. In fact, you know what? Let me see if I can get this going. I hate closing presentations. I'm not the best at it. I found if I just let ChatGPT do it for me, that's a little better. Let's see if this works. My internet works. All right, I don't think we're going to get it. But if you have the ChatGPT app, it will talk with you in any language you want. Pretty cool. Oh, it just popped up as I hit again. All right, we have, 1 more minute. Any other questions? What other questions do you have? By the way, I love this one. This is a simple one. I love the podiums on this side of this is human. I love the podiums on this side of the presentation. Does anyone know why? Why should you always stand on this side of the presentation whenever you have a screen? Yep, say it out loud. Really loud. Yeah, how do we read? Left to right, right? So you start with me, I go up here, tick, 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 ding, back to the typewriter, and now you're back at me. So if I'm an AI-augmented, right? If I'm AI-augmented, this is the AI, but you're always coming back to me, baby. I'm the human, right? The last thing I'll say is AI is based on what has come before. So its creativity is based on what's come before. Can AI produce a Shakespeare? Can it produce a Hamlet? Can it produce a Hamilton? I think that's the question. I think that's where humans will always win out. Last thought, esoteric one. I've never seen a sci-fi movie or a TV show with AIs and robots where the AIs and robots didn't want to be more human. We will always be the human in the loop. And today's AI is the worst AI you'll ever use. So start using it. Thanks a lot, everyone. I really appreciate you.